Alright, well, the Eagles had several guys make the Pro Bowl, but there were a few snubs. So let's talk about who those were, plus is Sirianni making the right decision to rest the starters? Meanwhile, we've got an update on all the injuries. Dallas Goedert may be back soon, and the likely matchup with Green Bay in the wildcard round just got a whole lot easier. Also, could Howie Roseman entertain an offer to join the Jets? Let's break it down, but first, let's run it. What's up, guys? So let's start with the Eagles Pro Bowl announcements. As congrats to Saquon Barkley for making his third Pro Bowl in his...
Hey, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Okay, fine. Although a lot more people care about the NFL rushing record, or at least trying to go for it, than I assumed, but I'll get to that in a second. I still did want to make mention that congrats to Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Lane Johnson, Zack Baun, and Jalen Carter for also making the Pro Bowl. I mean, think about the fact that you had Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox retire, and both of their replacements in Jurgens and Carter made their first Pro Bowl the very next year. Like, there didn't seem to be a lot of doubts, but it's just another confidence builder in having a team for the present and the future. Of course, there were a few snubs that don't make that much sense. For example, think about the fact that you have Jordan Mailata, who is the highest graded player in all of football, yet he didn't end up making it. Now sure, Penei Sewell from the Lions and Tristan Wirfs in Tampa are some good selections to make the squad, but there doesn't seem to be a valid argument for why Mailata didn't make it, other than the fact that maybe it's due to him missing some games earlier in the season with a hamstring injury. Still though, the Aussie is the highest graded run blocker in the league, and the second highest graded pass blocker in the NFL, having just allowed 1 sack and 1 quarterback hit all season. Heck, we've talked about this before, but no team asked their tackles to do more than the Philadelphia Eagles, with Jeff Stoutland essentially saying, fellas, you're going to be on an island, and we will see you after the game, so good luck. I don't know, obviously I'm biased, but it wouldn't be that surprising to me at this point to see the strange combination of Jordan Mailata not making the Pro Bowl, but yet getting an All-Pro consideration. Granted, as always, this thing's a popularity contest, and could be the reason for Quinyon Mitchell not making it either. Because even with a little letdown lately, Q has been better than several guys who got in over him, like Carolina's J.C. Horn, who Q has less touchdowns allowed and more pass breakups, or Minnesota's Byron Murphy, who's given up nearly 300 yards more, 2 touchdowns more, and Q has 4 additional pass breakups. Now you're right, Murphy does have 6 interceptions, so if Q had hauled in a couple of those, maybe it's a different story. Anyway, the Bears' Jalen Johnson also got in, and he makes a ton of sense based on his coverage numbers. Although Devin Witherspoon in Seattle has allowed more receptions, yards, and also doesn't have an interception, yet he still got in ahead of Q.
That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't, but I know it's just the Pro Bowl, so it doesn't really matter. However, I'd argue it does in at least one way. I mean, take a look at CJ Garner-Johnson, who found out he was snubbed and said, let the disrespect be as loud as the respect. Now look, I get it, you get it, it's an overglorified award. But if there's one positive to come out of this, it's that a lot of Eagles have chips on their shoulders. And we especially know what kind of difference that makes for guys like CJGJ. On the flip side though, I've seen a lot of comments saying how Sirianni's now hurt the locker room because he's not allowing Saquon to go for the rushing record. And look, sure, the future All-Pro is only 101 yards away from getting the all-time record, and it'd be really cool if he got it. But the players are professionals, and even though Barkley somewhat changed his tune from Sunday, he himself is completely at peace about it.
We're gonna rest some guys. No, we're locked into that number 2 seed, so we're gonna rest some guys. There's gonna be some guys that are resting. There are gonna be some guys that are in reserve roles. You can't obviously rest everybody with the schedule. With the roster. And so yeah, that's our plan moving in here forward.
Is Saquon going to be one of them?
Yeah, he'll probably be somebody that rests.
I'm glad that I didn't have to make that decision. Say if you go out there for a selfish reason and something negative happens, and I'm the one that's out there trying to get the offensive line to go play and beat a record, for me, it sounds crazy. So honestly, I'm just happy that I didn't have to make that decision. Nick made it pretty easy on me, and I'm truly at peace at it.
Obviously, everybody would like to have the record, but you would also like to have the player for the playoff game and win a playoff game with him. So you can get greedy if you want to. This league will quickly humble you and put you back in place.
I heard some of you were having trouble sleeping, so I wrote you a lullaby. Rockabye baby, awaken your bed, as the thought of 2000 swirls in your head. It sure is tough to lose sleep over football. Not for me, though. Good night to you all.
When your body gets used to the schedule, the daily grind, and you have a chance to heal, and you do feel a little bit of extra energy the next week. I think I can speak for a majority of NFL players. We don't get much time off, and the time you do have, we do take advantage of it. So, that's what we'll treat it like.
Exactly. No one's arguing that it wouldn't be fun to get the rushing title. Yet, like Lane called out, remember last season when Sirianni played the starters and AJ injured his ankle? That kind of came back to bite us. Sure, if you could guarantee no one would get hurt, then it's a no-brainer. Yet how many times do you see a dude go down, especially late in the season, that could cost a team? Speaking of, especially on the topic of the Eagles' likely playoff opponent for the wild card, the Packers announced that cornerback Jaire Alexander recently underwent arthroscopic knee surgery on Tuesday to alleviate pain and swelling, meaning the earliest he could come back would most likely end up being the Super Bowl, if Green Bay even made it that far. Now that's a big blow no matter how you slice it. But when you consider the Eagles with 2 number ones at receiver the opponent, then it becomes even a bigger mismatch for Green Bay to not be at full strength in about a week and a half whenever they face off. For real, the difference in Jeff Hafley's defense with or without Alexander is pretty wild. Like, look at this. When Jaire is on the field, the Packers have allowed only 7 touchdown passes while intercepting 8 passes, while opposing passers are registering a measly 61% completion and a 77.5 passer rating. FYI, that completion percentage is the second best, and the passer rating allowed is the best number in the league when Alexander's on the field. So yeah, those numbers speak for themselves. When Jaire Alexander's on the field, they are an elite passing defense. However, when he's not on the field, Green Bay's allowed 15 touchdown passes, intercepted 8 passes, while giving up a 70% completion and a 95.3 passer rating. Remember those stats before I mentioned, first and second? Well, yeah, that turns into the worst completion percentage in the NFL and the 23rd worst passer rating without their star corner. So one of the best pass defenses in the league quite literally becomes one of the worst. But another part that this affects Philly is that the absence of Alexander has left their defense to be less aggressive in coverage and play a lot more too high looks in safety, which can temporarily alleviate some struggles against the pass. Yet against a team like the Eagles, that just invites Saquon Barkley to run for massive gains. I mean, we kind of already saw this in the opener of the season. And I think everyone realizes the Birds are much improved from whenever these teams played in Brazil. Anyway, maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves because the Eagles could still technically play Washington, although it's very likely that they play Green Bay. I just wanted to touch on it because I got several DMs, and it is a significant impact, obviously, as you've seen and heard now with Jaire Alexander being out. But either way, I feel good because this team is getting healthier, as evidenced by the injury report and so many guys getting rest. But also, we recently got the news that Dallas Goedert's 21-day practice window was activated, meaning there's a chance we get to see Goedert this weekend. Or if not, then he's almost a lock to play in the wildcard round.
It'll be super important to have him back. He's a great football player that has helped this team win a lot of football games. So really excited for the possibility to get him back. And like I said, we'll see when that happens. But it's just good to get him back on the field and getting him practicing again, seeing him out there because he is a presence for our offense.
Shout out to Grant Calcaterra because he's held it down in DG's absence, but Goedert takes it to another level. I mean, no offense to Grant, but he just doesn't have the same blocking ability. Of course, as for the logistics of making this move happen, the Eagles recently announced that they are sending tight end CJ Uzomah to the IR, which should allow for the roster spot for Goedert to return. Anyway, take a look at the latest injury report, and on one hand, the incredibly long list is concerning. However, when you look at it a lot closer, the vast majority are due to rest, and Will Shipley, who's coming back from the concussion, and Nakobe Dean with the abdomen injury are close to full participants. Like at this point, realistically, the only thing that we need to hear back from is Jalen Hurts officially clearing the concussion protocol, which is going to happen. I know, Sirianni said Jalen's still in the protocol and the duration that QB1's been held back might have set off some alarms, but he's still got plenty of time to get cleared. If anything, the positive way to look at this is that it's just given him extra time to heal up his broken finger that he suffered several weeks ago. In all seriousness, though, are some of you legitimately concerned about Jalen being out this long? Personally, I've mentioned maybe a little bit of rust we'd see, but I'm about as concerned about that as I am this whole Howie Roseman being stolen by the Jets conspiracy. In case you have no clue what I'm talking about, NFL analyst Tony Pauling recently shared a source told him the Jets might be willing to do whatever it takes to get Howie Roseman in their organization, aka including offering the keys to the franchise and an equity stake in the organization.
Could you transfer me to one of your salespeople, please? Your best one?
It's pretty ridiculous when you think about it, though. Like, no other general manager in the league wields the kind of power and stability that Roseman does. And seeing as though Joe Douglas recently tried out that experience in New York, he can probably give Howie all the insight he needs into just how terribly run that franchise is.
Didn't everyone quit, like, immediately?
No, I fired them, and you're next. So what do you say?
Look, I get the fear and concern of even hearing anything like this, But shout out to Anthony DeBona because Roseman actually interviewed for a Jets intern role in 1999 but was passed on by Mike Tannenbaum, who's ironically currently helping New York find their next GM and head coach. Plus, with Howie having spent basically half of his life in Philadelphia, I don't think he just takes off for an enticing offer. The relationship that he and Jeff Hafley has is one of the best, and the idea that he would walk out on something he's had a massive hand in trying to build is really just laughable. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts on this. Also, how are you feeling having heard Jaire Alexander, the possibility there with the matchup? And also, I'm going to be giving away lower-level tickets to the Giants game this weekend, courtesy of my friends at Underdog. Just go ahead and do me a favor, drop a like on this video, and turn those notifications on, because I'll be spinning for one lucky subscriber to get those tickets during my next live stream. So thank you to them, thank you to you guys, and it's crazy, we're almost at 100,000 subscribers. Could not do that, obviously, without you guys. Until next time, this has been the Philly Special.